What's up?
Was up?
We are back. Every other week or so, we try to do a little live segment for you guys. This is Press Play on the We Trying channel. I'm Michael,
I'm Leroy.
and we're just kind of shooting the breeze, as it were, as we try to get into this and continue our 2023 streak of doing shows every once in a while. We got a nice little topic we're going to talk about. DCEU, what's up? Um, Both the DCEU and the MCU are kind of continuing in this 2023 with new movies coming out. Black Adam just came out. A lot of people didn't like it. Some people hated it more than others.
I wouldn't say it just came out. Um, it came out in
Leroy,
October,
time,
didn't it?
time, time is relative, sir. Okay.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, we say we're going to stream every weekend. We don't. Okay. So time is relative to us.
Um, yeah, it came out, came
It
and went.
came out. It came and went. It made some money. Rock said it did great. Other people say it didn't do so great. But that did get us thinking about what's going on with the DCEU. I wish I had recorded Leroy's rant about Black Adam. He may do it on this channel. I don't know. I mean, he may do it in this stream. I don't know. But he had some things to say about it.
Um,
Yeah, what's up?
it was it was a film.
It was something you
That's
could go to the theaters or watch on the TV screen.
it was something to watch. I wouldn't have gone to. I did not make it to the theater to see it,
Okay.
and I did. I actually did try.
I
Um, I
know.
I was never a big fan of this movie to begin with. I,
Hmm.
I I've been on record of saying that I thought Black Adam is an interesting character. I did not agree with The Rock playing him. I thought it was interesting that that's who The Rock saw himself as, or that's what he wanted to play.
He really pushed it for like more than a decade, right?
He had been wanting to do Black Adam for over a decade.
Because I feel
Um,
like, and chat, let me know. A forgettable film. Yeah, Chris 24M. Um, did he want to do Black Adam before Man of Steel happened or no?
he
I know he's been pushing for it for a while.
so when they started the DC movies. So let's go back. The first DC movie was
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel 2013.
Hmm.
It was directed by Zack Snyder, executive produced by Christopher Nolan. Nolan was given the executive producer of the DC films going forward because of his trilogy with Batman, the
Hmm.
Dark Knight trilogy. Um, I I like Man of Steel. I and I know that a lot of people are going to be like, your Marvel shills or why you bashing the DC. I thought that the DC, for what it was, think about this for a second. DC started in 2013 as far as their films for the DCU, their connected films. Their
Hmm.
first film was Man of Steel, right?
Hmm.
Um, First film was Man of Steel. They've only made 10 films. They've only made 10 films in this, whatever you want to call it. Meanwhile, Marvel
They made
has made,
12.
huh?
They made 12.
How, which films are you counting?
I'm looking at Wikipedia. Man of Steel,
Mm-hmm.
Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice,
Mm-hmm.
Suicide Squad,
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
Justice League,
Mm-hmm.
Aquaman,
Mm-hmm.
Shazam,
Mm-hmm.
Birds of Prey,
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman 1984,
Okay.
The Suicide Squad,
Okay.
and Black Adam.
How many? That's 10, right?
No, it's 11 actually. If you wanted to count Zack Snyder's Justice League, that'd be 12, but they had 11.
See, I don't, I miscounted then. So they did 11 films in 10 years.
Yeah, it's
I'm,
not great.
it's not. And let's be honest.
And not only 10 films in that many time, 10 films that were so at best. Like it'd be one thing if they were great films, right? Like if we were talking about them all the time, you'd be like, okay, you don't get them as much, but they're lauded films.
I will say the Suicide Squad is the best one they did.
For me, it's Birds of Prey, but I won't argue with you on that.
It's in my top five.
Birds of Prey is one of my favorite of the DCEU for sure.
It It's good. I was not a fan of Cassandra Cain. What they did with the character. I liked what they did in the film. Um, I had a little bit of quibble with the whole stripping that woman, making her dance on the table scene. Um, I felt kind of icky watching that. So
You were
that
supposed to.
I understand that, but I guess it's one of those things where it's like, who is this for? Does that make sense? Like, if you're like, DC has this real problem of who are your movies for? Are they for adults? Then I understand. Are they for preteens, kids? Then I had like, because Shazam really went hard in horror,
Hmm.
and so
Kyler Jones, hello.
I, I'm one of those people who says the DC was a good experiment. You tried. Let's put it down. It's
Let's
Old
put
Yeller.
it down. Old Yeller.
It's Old Yeller.
No. No.
I personally am glad that James Gunn is taking over. I'm interested to see what he does.
And who's the
But
other gentleman? I don't know. Is Peter something?
Peter Safran,
Saffron. Would I know him from stuff or not really? Not
he's a
like I know
producer.
James Gunn. He's a producer. Okay,
He's a
got it.
producer. Unless you like, he's produced a lot of good films. If you look at his resume, he's produced a lot of stuff, and he's
Okay,
very good at it. But you wouldn't know him like some of these other producers who are like out in front.
sure.
Um,
Okay.
I the DC started off like Man of Steel is one of my favorite Superman movies. It started off really well, and then they jumped the gun and did Batman versus Superman. Um, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Edward Sanchez Productions. I'm shocked it made that much money.
Um,
I'm gonna tell
I
you
will
right now,
say
it made more money than it should have.
here. Hey, I'm gonna say an unpopular opinion. Movie was all right. I
No, it
didn't hate
wasn't.
it. It
No, it
was
wasn't.
all right.
No,
I
it
was like,
wasn't.
it's fine. And you know why I say it was all right? Maybe I'm clearly we're looking for different things when we go to movies, right? To me, I wasn't expecting much of it from the movie. Like, that's fine.
Here's
And
what
and
I
I think it's because I don't the comics don't mean as much to me as they do to you.
see. To me, that's not what that doesn't bother me as much. It's not.
Okay.
It's not that. What bothers me about it is it took you 10 years to make that. That
You're not
and
wrong.
that's so when I look at something and I say, okay, you take X amount of time to make something. Perfect example.
Almost like if a producer at a news station takes all day to get a show done and
No
it's
comment.
garbage.
Oh, let me tell you. Ooh, I had some conversations this week with some people. Um,
Yeah.
so let's take Spider-Man, the
Mhm.
first Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming. From
Wait, wait.
when
Okay, hold on. So we're talking about MCU Spider-Man, not
MCU Spider-Man.
okay.
So let's take MCU Spider-Man.
Mhm.
From when they announced it, put it on the date, said, "Hey, we're doing a Spider-Man. This is the date. Here's when we're going to start shooting." Came out, right? That window was this compared to Black Adam's. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? And so what I'm saying is I can take that with a number of films, and that's my problem with it. The fact that you took over 10 years to make this film. You have one of the biggest stars in the world behind it, and it was not worth the wait. And Kyler Jones says it.
Kyler Jones has a great comment. Yeah, go ahead.
We waited how long for Incredibles 2, Avatar 2, and it was worth the wait. Black Adam made us wait that long for that. Like, you're put it like this. If I wait over 10 years for your movie, it shouldn't be on the same par as Morbius.
Oh no. I, I want to defend that just to be on the other side, but I can't.
Venom was better than Black Adam.
The first Venom,
Yep.
I'll give you that.
How? How?
I
See
mean,
that's the problem with the DCU. It was so it was so mismatched, hodgepodge put together that people have certain movies that they like. I love Man of Steel. I know that some people take some issue with it. I love Man of Steel. I
Hey, we
enjoyed.
just had somebody else in the chat. Who is that? Aaliyah Veal. I love Man of Steel. I own it
Yeah,
on Blu-ray.
I own it on Blu-ray.
You're not the only one.
There was a special edition that I had been waiting on to buy. It's like it comes in this huge box, and because I'm cheap when I buy certain things, but it wasn't 4K. But it had like the giant Man of Steel. It was in a tin, and it was all this. It was Blu-ray, and it was like 30 or 40 bucks. And I was like, man, they need to put that on 4K. If it was 4K, I would have bought the whole thing, but I didn't. And I'm mad now because it like dropped to 24, 30 bucks, and I didn't get it. But anyway, you have to kind of pick and choose what movie you like. Um, but as a whole, the DCU was a failed experiment. And this is how I'll say that the DC, how you know the DC is a failed experiment compared to other franchises, and the one that we have to look to is the MCU, because the MCU punked the MCU punked Warner Brothers, because if you
Oh,
remember,
you're talking about with
yep,
Batman v Superman?
yep,
That was a. I remember that. I remember
Batman
us talking
versus
about it.
Superman. Batman versus Superman's announce date was the same. The release date was the same day as Captain America: Civil War,
Hmm.
and they moved Batman versus Superman.
Sure.
There is no reason, if you had done it right, Batman versus Superman should have feared any release date. You have two of the most recognizable characters on the planet.
Yeah.
There's no. I would put, if you ask people, like if you did like a survey and you threw up the American flag, Captain America's the shield versus Batman versus Superman symbol and the Superman symbol, most people would recognize Batman and Superman before they recognize the American flag. I'm putting it out there.
Okay.
That's that
You got
because
some liquid courage in you now. You're just saying all
I'm.
kinds of stuff.
But the thing is, when you think about recognizable symbols, we've all taken surveys, Survey Monkey, E Rewards, all these different surveys that you take. They ask you, "What do you know this from?" Like what? I'm gonna be honest with you. The American flag all over the world does not drum up nice memories for some people.
Oh, sure. I'm not talking about whether or not they
So,
respect the flag. I'm just talking
but,
about they know the flag.
but what I'm saying is, so you have two of the most recognizable. I want to say comfort food, but like Batman never invaded a country.
Yes.
So you like, how do you have a movie with Batman versus Superman and you get punked off your release date by Captain America 3?
Hmm.
Really? Like that, like it doesn't even make sense.
One thing we've never talked about, and I'm not the first person to come with this, and I won't say this is my original idea. I think Honest Trailers kind of did this, but like the overall tones and themes of Captain America's Civil War are similar to Batman v Superman in terms of two characters fighting it out, coming together at the end, and super villain, not necessarily known for his strength, but their mental intellect kind of putting them against each other. And I think it's interesting that just the way it was put together in Civil War was done so much better than BVS.
Well, because the difference was BVS was a concept that was half baked
Sure.
from a bunch of people who didn't understand the characters. Whereas Civil War was based on an actual comic that they took certain themes from, and they were like, okay, let's take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and let's make our own movie. Whereas Batman versus Superman was half baked trash.
Half baked, hashtag half baked trash.
I mean, because
Um,
like it really wasn't a good movie. And
yeah.
and when even when you look at the director's cut and you say, okay, the director's cut filled it out, it still doesn't make it a better movie. You see what I'm saying? Um, I think casting, you could have gotten away. You could have gotten even away with the fact that, um, you know, the Social Network was your Lex Luthor. Like I, I have issues with the fact that Batman versus Superman didn't understand the characters themselves and didn't even do a good job of pitting Superman versus Batman. Like the concept, the way that they created Batman in this world didn't even make sense, and that was that of your biggest problems. You didn't have two of the biggest characters in the world team up before you tore them down.
Hmm.
And how do you deconstruct something that you haven't even constructed yet? And that was a big problem. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to deconstruct these characters as icons and show them for who he viewed them as, instead of giving us the Batman versus Superman people actually wanted. It's the Batman versus Superman is what the Last Jedi is. Whereas you can't deconstruct Star Wars without giving the people what they really wanted with their
Like you couldn't
legacy
start with
characters.
Last Jedi.
There you go.
Hmm.
You want Last Jedi to happen now after you've given everybody what they've been looking for. That's fine. But how you go deconstruct something in the middle of people getting their legacy characters back? Like you didn't even give Luke Skywalker the opportunity to be Luke Skywalker.
Hmm.
So how can you deconstruct Superman when and kill him off when he barely had a movie? Because Man of Steel is an origin movie. So you really
Hmm.
didn't get a Superman movie. Now you want to kill him off in 3? Okay, cool. But I and I hate it because you literally had a template. I've said this before. If you wanted to do the DCU, just copy the Justice League. It ain't that hard.
You talking about the animated show?
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, so do we want to like go movie by movie and just talk about high points, low points, or just what?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's start with, do you want to go chronological order in the way they came out, or chronological order in how you watch them? Because if you watch them the way that they're supposed to be watched, Wonder Woman would be first. But if you watch them in the way that they came out,
I would just watch them where they talk.
okay,
I'm going by Wikipedia and where they came out. Man
okay,
of
let's start
Steel.
Man of Steel. I liked it. I really did.
Uh, I've come around on Man of Steel.
Really.
Yeah, I have. Because I remember you and I always talk about it, and I always kind of pick at you just to be contrarian and be like, Man of Steel was garbage. Or I don't know if I ever said it was garbage. I said I didn't like it. I've watched it more,
Hmm.
and I won't say I'm a Henry Cavillite, but I do enjoy Henry Cavill's performance in it.
Yeah.
Um, it took a while for me to warm up to Henry Cavill because the way Henry Cavill delivers his lines sometimes in a
Hmm.
bunch of movies, especially when he's doing an English accent, it kind of comes off as stilted to me.
Really, because that's his accent.
Yeah, wait, you think the way he talks in Man of Steel is how he talks normally?
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and listen to an interview. I don't think it sounds like that to me.
Yeah.
To me, but anyway.
Okay.
But I say all that to say, I have enjoyed
Hmm.
Henry Cavill's performance as Superman and just enjoying his performances overall. I kind of got on a renaissance of watching Witcher again and then The Man from Uncle. It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I like Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well,
I think Man of
all that
Steel was fine. Yeah.
Kyler Jones, explain why you don't like Man of Steel. Because I understand why some people don't. Like the idea that Superman kills is a hard pass for some people, and I understand that. And letting his dad and letting Paul Kent die was a hard pass for
You
people.
could have saved him.
I mean, I understand that.
You could have.
Like I understand that. But for me, I do like the movie. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to. So
Sure.
I go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I think it was an interesting take because one thing that I'll give Man of Steel compared to MCU, right, and a lot of the
Hmm.
DCEU, we were getting a different take on superhero movies that we
Yes.
had seen for like the past 4 or 5 years. I love
Hmm.
MCU. Call me a shill. That's fine. I've enjoyed it. Phase four, not great, but overall, I've enjoyed the MCU. But definitely, they're quippy. I mean, it's definitely a little bit lighter for the most part. And it was interesting to see Man of Steel be a darker movie and a different take. So I thought that was interesting, and that gave us something, just
Um,
a different way to look at superhero movies.
Aaliyah Veal. I'm not watching my daddy get sucked up into a tornado. I feel you. Depending on the day, I might have pushed my dad because he gets on my nerves.
I've met your father. He's a wonderful man.
He is, but sometimes I'm like, oh, my bad, Dad. I'll come get you later.
Man,
But
horrible.
I loved Man of Steel. Um, I loved it because Man of Steel was the first Superman movie where I think people understood the Superman's one of those characters where people like he's a giant Boy Scout. You know, he's this, he's that, he's this. To me, I loved Man of Steel because you got to see him wrestle with the fact of I I thought I was human this entire time. I have all these abilities, and he struggled with how to use them, how like what to do. He went on this, you know, backpacking through the Americas, thing that we had never seen before. How he handled certain things, and you saw him get mad. That was something that I think a lot of people don't understand. Just because you're a nice person doesn't mean you still don't get mad. And the fact that when that guy poured the beer on him, and he was pissed, he wanted to break that dude's neck, but he didn't. And that's when you have power and you choose not to use it, I think is a strength that a lot of people don't understand. And I loved seeing Krypton in a totally different right. Um, I loved their characterization of Jor-El. I
Hmm.
enjoyed that part of it. I thought Russell Crowe was a great pick for Jor-El. Um, I love Chris, Russell Crowe knew what he was doing in that movie versus his role as Hercules in Thor: Love and Thunder. Like I have like he was a totally different person.
Zeus.
Zeus,
Yeah.
thank you. He was a
Hmm.
totally different person in that movie than everybody else was playing. And it was
Hmm.
like, what movie is he in? Because
Hmm.
that's not what everybody else is doing. I my One of the biggest takeaways I think for again, I bring it back to you finally got to see Superman live action because you've seen him like fly and catch a plane. You got to see what happens when a person of that magnitude and power fights someone on his level who he doesn't hold back against. And that to me was one of the things that you never got to see in a Superman movie before. You
Hmm.
even take the Richard Donner films when he fought Zod back then, and it was Terror Stamp? Like
Yes.
it was like that old '80s. Boom! I punch you and you punch me. When
I
he
mean, that's
fought,
what you had back then.
but what I understand that, but you saw him fight Michael Shannon, you were like, oh, and that's when you realized, to me, that's when you got and you could understand. But
The
it was,
power you're seeing.
and that
One thing
and
that I like about it. Oh, go. I'm gonna cut you off. Go ahead, and
I
I'll
was
add
just
to
like
it.
it. That's where I was like, you can understand and seed some of the argument Lex Luthor had and Batman had in Batman versus Superman. But the problem is, you went from that one little seed of, oh, that dude is powerful, we need to kill him. You went from that to that, and that was you made that leap too quickly. But if you planted the seed there, you saw him basically destroy a city
Hmm.
in a fight.
Sure.
So that was the first time, like the last time you saw that was in the second to last episode in the Justice League Unlimited when he fought Dark Side, and he literally says, "I have to be careful not to break." He's like, "But you can take it," and that's the one of those times in an animated series you got to see it. But this is the first time we got to see it in live action, so I loved it.
In terms of like his power level, I almost liken it to an anime. And people in the anime fans in the chat, you might understand what I'm saying. But there's an anime called Naruto. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with it?
Hmm.
He's a ninja.
Yeah.
He wants to be the Hokage of the Leaf Village, Hidden
Hmm.
Leaf Village. And one thing that I always liked about Naruto is sometimes he would load up his punches,
Hmm.
right? And they always did a great job in that show of animating just how powerful his punches were. And I always wanted to see something like that in live action. And I feel like Man of Steel does a good job of showing like what a Naruto style anime punch is in terms of just showing the destructive capability of it.
Hmm.
That's just a side, nothing monumental about it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
So like I like Man of Steel for that purpose as well, but I liken it more to a Dragon Ball. Like if you think about how many times you've watched Goku fight, but
Sure.
it's always some barren wasteland or some
They usually go
desert.
away from the city. Yeah.
This is what happens, and to me this was more realistic. Like I love the MCU, but this was more realistic when a fight breaks out. Like the MCU, the Avengers are like, we need to take this battle away from the city, and it's like, nah, bruh, we go fight this in the middle of downtown. And that was real. People died, and to me, I like that. And I think Man of Steel. For me, if you're talking the 11 movies that came out during the DCU, Man of Steel's in my top five. So
Okay.
I mean, it's a top five for me. I loved everything about it. I love the Kryptonians. I love the fact like I don't like if people don't understand. He literally turned against his own people to save some people who don't even like him.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm not saving y'all. Like I might have sit it out, but like it just I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a good start to me. The MCU, like, come here, buddy. Say what? Okay. Hey, hi. Hey,
He's excited.
he is. Hey, you want to sit down or you want to stand? Um, just like the MCU got its start with Iron Man, and you were like, okay, this is good. I
Hmm.
liked how the DCU started with Man of Steel. So that's so we can go to whatever the next one is.
Next one is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Dog shit. Let's move on.
Oh no! Oh, I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. Somebody in the, I think Chris 24M
He
was
said he
a
liked it.
fan. He said Batman BVS is a great film. Um,
You know what?
I'll
If
say
if
this.
you do, I'm not gonna knock you. I'm not gonna say that it's terrible. It's just not a film for me. I didn't
Sure,
appreciate
sure. I will say this. Um, and pretty much for all the Zack Snyder stuff,
it. Hmm.
as much as I talk about people, I'm not saving y'all. Then he gets handed the baby. Um,
Hey,
yeah,
buddy,
I
you want to put your little hat
we
on?
talk about
Hmm.
people needing editors and stuff
Yeah.
to like edit their stuff down. And as much
Hmm.
as I want to hate people not having editors
Hmm.
or doing whatever they want, it does seem like Zack Snyder does better when he has more time to do stuff or
Oh
more
yeah.
of. And like and a perfect example, BVS Donner Justice I don't think is good. I think the extended version still isn't great, but it's better.
It's
um, I think him having that extra time to kind of plant the seeds, because I feel like a lot of the problem with the first theatrical version that came out was you're like, wait, how did you jump to this conclusion, Batman?
hmm
How did you jump to this
Yep.
conclusion, Superman? And I feel like the extended version gives you more scenes of like, okay, this kind of makes more sense. It's still crazy, but
Hmm.
at least you can kind of see what the breadcrumbs are to get to where from point A to point B to point C or whatever. Um,
And
Batman, I mean BBS. There's so many problems. I'm trying to think of goods and bads. It was cool to
Wonder
see
Woman
Batman, and yeah, Wonder Woman was cool. It was
was the best part of the movie. Da da da. And then when she did with this thing, I was like, okay, get it, girl.
yeah, it was because I think a lot of people, you included, were not like on board with Gal Gadot
I
being
was
Wonder
not.
Woman at first
I
because
was
you're like,
not.
she's so tiny, but she
Well,
put on muscle.
not just that she was so like in my version of Wonder Woman, and they may go a different route. Gina Carano. I'm looking for that.
Hmm.
Like when you saw some of the other Amazons when we finally got to the Wonder Woman movie, I was picking out body types and I was like, that's Wonder Woman, that's Wonder Woman, that's Wonder Woman. Like I was like, I wanted an Amazon. And
Sure,
they went with a model. And I was
sure.
like, you couldn't even stay alive in Fast and the Furious. And everybody stays alive in that movie. Like how you could be Wonder Woman? And you didn't
Hmm.
even die spectacularly. You just fell off a plane.
Give me justice for Giselle.
And I'm
We
like,
got justice for Han. Give me justice for Giselle.
I mean, I just so here's my thing. I was being hyperbolic. I don't think it's dog shit. I love certain things about it. I will say I will say this, and a lot of people, and it took me a while to come around to this. The characterization, the way he looked, the way he carried himself, the way he embodied the character, his size. No one looks more like Bruce Wayne and a Batman than. I'm thinking of all the Bruce Waynes and the Batmans. Affleck looked more like Bruce Wayne and Batman, especially from the Batman animated adventures, than any other Batman
He definitely had
before him.
that wide barrel
Yes,
chested, or not even barrel chest, just like wide
the
shoulders.
shoulders, like he
Yeah.
looked like you would think Bruce Wayne would look. He really filled. He had the cut of his jib. he looked like it. And it took me a while, but like the working out scenes, like that's what I envision crazy ass Bruce Wayne doing to
I
be
want, yeah,
Batman.
I wish they had done a better job of giving us the detective Batman. Like he's the world's
Here's
greatest detective. I don't feel like we got a lot of that
you
in
know
this
why?
in his particular Batman. What's up?
Because the DCU did exactly the opposite of what the MCU did. So if you're going to give us a broken Batman, because that's what it was. He was the Batman from the Dark Knight
Hmm.
from Frank Miller. He uses guns. He's angry. His Robin is dead. The Joker killed his Robin. If you're going to give me that, show me that. In other words, don't just give me a broken Batman and just like we got to go with it. You've got to build up to this moment to where Batman is broken, to where he's like, I got to kill Superman. You can't start with I got to kill Superman. You got to progress to that.
Well, it
Two,
seems like the movie was just like that theme for Batman. Everything about it was they
and
didn't do the backstory for
mhm.
anything. Yeah.
And here's the problem. That's bad filmmaking. And that's my problem with Batman versus Superman, Justice League. That's bad filmmaking.
Hmm.
Good filmmaking starts with the beginning, middle, and end, and gives you what you need to for the motivations for those characters. That's the problem. If you're like, I'm not saying that Batman can't get there. We've seen so many different iterations of Batman in comics that you could have gotten away with Batman versus Superman, where Batman tries is literally trying to kill Superman. You could have done that, but you got to start with Batman not being a killer, not picking up an M60 and just gunning down hordes of people. Like,
Batman went through some
and
people. For him to be so mad
and
at
so
Superman, it's like, bro, you was
mhm.
killing a lot of people.
And that was my that's my problem with it. Now I will say I enjoyed watching people like idolize Superman. Like that part was real. That part was true. The idea that people would see Superman and just like make effigies of him and just believe that he is just the next Messiah. That's real.
Mhm.
That would happen. I did like this idea of certain people in certain factions being fearful of that. And this idea that, oh, you're from America, so you are going to uphold American traditions and like all of those things I thought was a very nuanced take. But again, the storytelling was not there. And I think that's where you need a writer and someone who's like, hey, buddy, you want to come over here? Let's come over here. Because you like to stand even though you can't stand. And you like to try to walk even though you can't go nowhere. There you go. I think if he'd have had better writers and he'd have had a movie before Batman versus Superman,
Mhm.
like if you'd have given us a Batman movie that was an origin story, that wasn't like an origin, oh, this I became Batman. Like stop killing the Waynes. Like we know like everyone knows how they die. Give me the origin of how you broke Batman.
Mhm.
How did he become this dude who didn't even try to rebuild Wayne Manor? Who him and Alfred are living underground, where he's kept an effigy of Robin dying that the Joker basically and which Robin was that?
Mhm.
Was that was that was that Tim Drake? Was that Nightwing? Was that Connor? Not Connor. Jason was that Jason Todd? Connor was the clone Superman. Sorry. Um, like show us that. Like if you'd have done that, Batman versus Superman would have had so much more impact because then you would have understood. Oh, he killed the f out of that dude.
Mhm.
Show us that, and Zack Snyder would have been hailed up there with the greats.
Okay. All right. Let's keep moving. Suicide Squad is the next one. That David Ayer Suicide Squad. That movie for me is
Ain't
hot
good.
trash.
It ain't good. But guess what?
I
I like it.
I like one scene in that movie, and it is the scene with Will Smith talking to
Viola Davis,
Viola Davis
but
about
he's not
getting his
talking.
kid.
But he's not talking to Viola Davis. Yeah.
Yeah, about getting his kid into the good school, the white people
Hmm.
school. I
Yeah.
was like, I know that scene hit hard. Like, oh, okay, interesting. Is this movie going to go there the entire time? Nah, not really. It's just going to have that one cool line and be done with it, and then just be a crazy mishmash of all kinds of stupid whatever, and crazy pop colors
Yeah.
and introduce characters 3 or 4 times within the same movie. Um, Cara Delevingne, she deserves better. I like her and other stuff, man. I guess she did what was asked of her, but man, the Enchantress was nothing.
I felt bad for Jared Leto because, all right, say bye,
Hey,
Owen.
Katie.
Everybody says hi. Can I get another one? Doesn't matter which one. Um, Continue. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, not my thing is I think I think what was I gonna say?
You were talking Cara Delevingne. Della.
Yeah, I think Cara Delevingne is I've
Who's
seen
the,
her in better stuff, and this she just she didn't get anything to do. The studio
no,
messed that movie up. Chris 24M, yeah, I'd agree with that.
the studio.
David Ayer and people have said like, yeah, they people got
So
studio notes and whatever.
for a lot of people who don't know what happened with Suicide Squad, David Ayer directed it. When they were promoting the movie, they allowed a company to cut a trailer. That's the trailer we all saw, and the trailer we all thought was going to make this movie the bomb. And everybody's like, "Oh, this is DCU is killing it. Like, forget Man of Steel. This is what's going to bring it back."
Hmm.
And Warner Brothers was like, "Oh, that's the hot shit. Let them cut the movie." And they let a company who cut a trailer cut the whole movie outside of what David Ayer and his people were doing. And it was not good. Um, I I like the Suicide Squad. I know it's a flawed film. I
You
love
do.
I love everybody in it. I will say that it could have been better, but it is what it is, and I'm willing to live with that. But is it in my top five? No. Do I like it? Yes. Do I realize it's a bad film? Somebody mentioned they like the Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and it's a guilty pleasure. That's
I
the
like the
suicide.
Wild Wild West.
That movie is trash.
I know it is. I don't
That,
care.
that movie should have been burned at the studio.
That
Like
movie
Batgirl,
is
that movie should have been played in the parking lot and never seen again. Wrote it off in
wow,
taxes. But
wow, horrible.
no, I enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I saw it in the theaters, and in the theaters, even though I was liking it, I was like, "What am I watching?"
Hmm.
Um, I like the characterization. Somebody said, I think it was Kyler Jones said, Suicide Squad is like Saturday Night Live, only good in clips, not a full version. I'm I have no notes to add to that. That is exactly what that movie is. I enjoyed the characterizations. I enjoyed. I thought um, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller was perfect. I thought her. If you watch the extended cut, you understand her motivations more. It does make for a better film. It still doesn't make a good film. Um,
I'm with you, Kyler Jones. All right, next movie, Wonder Woman.
Hold on,
2/3 of that movie is fantastic. All right, you know
I
what?
own it.
Three fourths of that movie is fantastic.
I own it. I go ahead because I'm gonna say something that I have something to pivot off of
No,
depending
I
on where
think I think the movie is fun. It's joyous. It really is, and I think Gal
it was
Gadot
almost perfect.
proved. Yeah, I think Gal Gadot really proved like, oh, you know what? Maybe you don't have the physical definition of what a lot of people are looking for, but you definitely have the heart of Wonder Woman, which I think
That
is cool.
this movie
You
proved that she
you
could be
definitely
Wonder Woman.
proved
You're
like,
right.
oh, you know what? You show that love and that empathy that maybe people don't necessarily think about for Wonder Woman, but you show that here. And
Hmm.
then, and I'm not a movie person. I'm not a movie director, so I don't know how to fix this. But movies like video games always, at least superhero movies like video games, always feel like they have to end with some sort of fight at the end of it.
Light beam in the sky.
Yeah, like beam in the sky, or even if it's not that, just something. And it's just her fighting Ares. It just, I wonder if Patty Jenkins was had another idea, like, nah, she needs to fight somebody at the end. I don't know one way or the other, but I just wish it had ended a different way. That fight wasn't necessary. It kind of sucked.
as
Um,
as I've gone.
and the fact that what's his David Thewlis, is that his first
Mhm,
name?
yeah.
David
hmm
something Thewlis. As soon as I'm like, oh, you the bad dude because you David Thewlis. Like it would like,
and that's a problem with a lot of
oh,
these
who
movies.
is Danny Houston? Is that his name?
Yeah. hmm
I will say having both those guys in there is probably good because you got two bad guys. Okay, so one of them could be somebody else, so that kind of works. But still,
And
like David Thewlis, yeah, you
but
Aries.
here's the problem. I didn't see him being the bad guy.
Which one?
David
Thewlis?
Lewis. I saw
Okay.
Danny Houston being the bad guy. I will say this: everything you said, I agree with, but I will pivot. Gal Gadot or Godot proved that she could be Wonder Woman with this film. This was almost a perfect film until the last third of the movie, and it was almost like you wrote a paper and you were good, and then you stopped writing it. Then you came back to the paper and you were like, "Oh shit, the due date is here. I got to get this done." And you just wrote some shit
Hmm.
and you just dropped your grade down. That's what Wonder
Hmm.
Woman is for me. Um, I I wanted a harder Wonder Woman. I wanted but this is what I've always wanted. I've always wanted a Wonder Woman who was bred for war. I've
Hmm.
always wanted a Wonder Woman who was a warrior, whereas Batman and Superman are like, we don't kill, we try to Wonder Woman's like, I will kill you if you get in my way. Like she's a warrior. Um, this changed my mind and saw the character in a different light. I enjoy the backstory of her being a little girl and seeing those different things. I love, to me, that was the best part of Wonder Woman 1984. The Amazon Olympics or whatever you want to call them. Um, this movie was, this to me redeemed Suicide Squad because
Interesting.
you were kind of like, okay, they're not there yet, but they're getting there. Because
Hmm.
as an origin story, it felt like a MCU Phase One movie. Not the lights kind of, but it really was. I was like, okay, I see where they're going, and then I also realized that Patty Jenkins should have been directing Thor: The Dark World because remember she was the one who was supposed to direct that, but Ike
Hmm.
Perlmutter was like, I don't like women in colors, and
Hmm.
so she got booted. Natalie Portman was upset. She never came back to the MCU after this. And
Well,
it
she did.
after she never came back until, hold on, Taika Waititi sweet talked her into coming back, but she was
Hmm.
done, and I understand it. And then it made you realize, oh, Patty Jenkins was in the MCU wheelhouse the whole time, and y'all
Hmm.
dropped. So it really was. I enjoyed it. Is he okay? You want me to take him back? Okay.
Owen wants to be on the set with us.
If he wants to go back to the stream, he can come back. But I enjoyed Wonder Woman. Um, it's in my top five. So right now, Man of Steel.
Are you keeping track? I feel like you
I am.
said six movies are in your top
Nope.
five.
Man of
Okay.
Steel,
Uh huh.
Wonder Woman, top five.
Okay. Cool.
Suicide Squad is not in my top five. No,
You
it is
just
not.
like it.
I like it.
Okay. All right.
It might make it might creep up depending on how this goes. But right now,
Okay.
Man of Steel and Wonder Woman in the top five.
Okay. Justice League is the next movie. The one that is a mishmash
Hold on,
Frankenstein.
which one we talk about? Josh Whedon or the Snyder cut?
That's the one, the
Okay.
mishmash that's all together. 2017, the first one that came out.
Hold it under the water till the bubbles stop.
Oh gosh. Oh, my heart. Um, Having said that, I can't disagree with you. It is a rough watch. I'm trying to think of anything I liked in it. I thought
I'm
the
a,
one scene was cool where Superman came back, Flash is running at him, and he's like, "I can catch him," and you see Superman moving. It's like
mhm.
that's a cool thing.
Yep.
That's interesting concept.
That that made you realize, like, oh, Superman is that dude. Like they talk
Mhm.
about LeBron James, mama, that's a man. Superman made you like Justice League made you realize, oh, y'all getting y'all ass kicked if Superman don't show up.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's just it's so weird because when you think of Justice League, for anybody that's a fan, there's a good chance you probably saw the cartoon
Hmm.
and you know how good the cartoon is and everything it brought for what 4 or 5 seasons, whatever it was, including Justice League Unlimited. So many storylines, like you said, yeah, develop that from a movie. You know, you have the blueprint to do stuff, um, but it was just a big nothing.
Here's what I would have, hindsight being 2020, I will say, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. Whenever I say a movie is not good or I don't like it, notice I don't own it.
Hmm.
This is what I will say about Warner Brothers, and this is a whole nother topic. We're going to get into this later. If you like something, own it. Because
Hmm.
Warner Brothers has proven they don't give a fuck about you and the creators. That if they can make money off of not keeping it, getting it off their site, or killing a project, they will do that. So if you want to watch something, if you think something's good, to support that those creators or those people, own a physical copy of it because Warner Brothers has shown you, Netflix as well has shown that if you like something, we don't give a shit. We will kill it in a minute. We will kill it quicker than a puppy with 3 legs.
They're the ones who will drown it into the in the lake like you want.
The Warner
They let the
Brothers will
bubbles
do that.
pop all up. Yeah.
Warner Brothers won't even wait till the bubbles stop. Warner Brothers, Warner as a company, and I say this, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I'm not trying to be exaggerating. I'm telling you right now, I like the DCU. I like the characters in the DCU. But if you're telling me right now, Leroy, would you sign up for HBO Max after The Last of Us is over? Cancel it. Do not give the, because one, it went up $1, and two, they're steadily taking stuff off every week we turn around. And I say that because, like I said, I'm telling y'all, if I like
Hmm.
the Batman, I love the Batman. One of the best movie going experiences of 2022. Wonder Woman, I enjoyed it. Batman versus Superman, Justice League, Snyder Cut, or Josh Whedon, don't own either of them. Watched them. I will never go back and watch the Snyder Cut ever again. I've seen it. I'm happy. I'm happy Zack Snyder got to fulfill
You should say
his.
about this for when we get to that movie, but okay.
But I'm saying that when we get to Justice League, I'm happy the Justice League came out. I'm happy that we got to see these characters work together. I don't own it. I don't think it's a good film.
There
I
we
think
go.
I,
Next movie. What?
I will say this, hindsight being 2020, the scenes where Batman was trying to put together a team would have been great in your Batman origin story before Batman versus Superman,
Hmm.
before you broke him.
Hmm.
And then he stopped doing everything that was Batman and became a hateful old man.
Hmm.
Because this idea of Batman trying to put together a team after he killed Superman doesn't fly with me. Hmm. Come on, buddy. Come back to the stream. Guess who's back, people?
Next movie. Owen can talk about Aquaman. What does Owen think of Aquaman?
Don't own it, but Owen thinks that the pretty lights and the nice colors was great.
Okay, there we go. Aquaman was fun, and it was different from what we had before. It was at one, two, three, four. Well, I'll say 4 out of the 5 movies were
Hmm.
darker and grittier and more realistic, whatever you want to say. Aquaman was just like Jason Momoa said, "Hey, you know what? Let's just have fun. Fuck
Yep.
it. I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever I want." And I
Not
think
only
it was
that, he
better
looked like
for that.
he looked like he had fun doing it.
Hmm.
Like when he jumped out of the airplane, he was like redheads.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of the crazier parts of Aquaman, in terms of like the origins, in terms of how he and Mara met, are
Mhm.
different from what happened in Justice League.
Oh yeah, they're
And
terrible.
they tried to kind of retcon all this. It was very weird.
Yeah,
But
they didn't.
Aquaman itself was fun.
Warner Brothers did this. Hey man, what you doing in your movie? What you doing in your movie? I don't know. All right, hey man, I'm gonna use these characters. All right, I'm gonna use these characters. You want to talk about what you're doing? Nah, okay, cool.
Hey, I'm gonna use hey in my
Nope.
movie. She's gonna have a British accent. In
Nope.
mine, nah, she's just gonna be American accent.
They literally taught. They literally did whatever the f they wanted.
Sure.
I will say this: Aquaman did get me excited for Avatar. I did go after watching Aquaman. I went back and watched Avatar.
Hmm.
I thought I was like, okay, let me go see some blue people again.
Let me
Um,
see some blue people again. Yeah, I think it was fun. And I guess all those other movies probably got canceled. Like they were trying to do like 4 or 5 different spin-off movies from
the
Aquaman, right?
trench. Well,
The Trench and another one.
well, they were trying to do a bunch of just different types of movies, and they
Mhm.
ended up killing them off. I will say that Aquaman, in my opinion, wasted Willem Dafoe as Vaco.
Sure.
I think he was wasted. I enjoyed Aquaman. I thought it was a good time at the movie theater. However, comma, I'm a big whoa, buddy.
Yeah.
Like he said, you got to be quicker than that, and he is too quick sometimes. Let me have that. Here, you can have this. Here, have that. Nope, not that. Give me that back. Um, let's slide that back. Um, yep. Renee, Final Space. Like you could. Warner Brothers is littered. Like there are literal articles about what they have gotten rid of. Um, that you can't watch. Like, here's the problem: Final Space season 3. You can find Final Space season 1 and 2. I think there are physical copies of that. Final Space season 3 was only on Warner Brothers. It might have made it to TBS streaming. I'm not sure, but there's no physical copies of that. The creator himself said we never got to do it. So if you didn't see it on Warner Brothers on HBO Max, you didn't see it, and so now it's gone. And it's cheaper for them. And so that's my big problem with. So that's why I said if you like a movie that Warner Brothers has that they own, go get a copy of it. Because Westworld, go see if you can watch that.
Yeah.
Go see if you can watch Westworld.
Um,
But no, Aqu- I have a problem with Aquaman and that fact that they put all that money into CGI and given us the drum playing octopus and people riding giant sea crocodiles.
mhm.
And hell, Mira had the worst wig I've seen since Michelle Williams and Venom,
I mean, it wasn't great. It
and
was it was not a good look for her.
that's my problem with that movie and those types of movies, like with female characters. If you're like Jason Momoa, shouldn't look like he stepped out of a Giorgio ad, and Amber Heard looks like a CW castaway.
Oh man, not CW Castaway.
Not like a reoccurring character, like just a throwaway character. That's how she
Hmm.
looked. And a blockbuster movie, a movie that had a $200 million budget. You gave her that wig. That was terrible. Like somebody should like be made fun of in front of their children for that.
There we go. Next up, Shazam or Shazam,
Hey, we saw that
however you
in
want to say it.
theaters. Me, you, and my wife. We saw that in theaters. Yeah.
Yeah, Wendy
Hmm.
was there, right? One of the four of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you said her name on the stream?
I've said her name before.
You did?
Yeah,
Hey, good for you.
nobody pays attention though, so it's whatever.
That is true. I've
Um,
said a lot of stuff ain't nobody at work noticed.
yeah, I guess the fact that you still have a job proves nobody watches us.
Or
Um,
I got dirt on people.
no comment. Wow, no comment.
Hey, buddy, let that go, man.
um, yeah, Shazam was fun.
It was, wasn't it?
And I think it was cool because we got to see it like what a week early, right?
Hmm.
Before it came out. I feel like
Yeah,
some kind of way we saw they were
yeah.
showing it earlier or something.
They had like some kind of sneak preview, and we saw it, and then we reviewed it. It was good.
Yeah, but
It
yeah,
did have. It had a hard. The monsters were little like that's why I said the DCU has a tone problem where like they'll have like Aquaman and they'll kill people off screen, and then Shazam just has monsters eating people
I
in
will.
a
Yeah,
boardroom.
Shazam was. It was like, oh, this is a little bit scarier than I thought it was going to
Yeah,
be.
like
Oh
Shazam,
no,
like
Shazam was crap. Oh, Kyler Jones. I don't agree with that.
that's funny.
That is funny. Your opinion is fine, but
Hey
yeah,
man,
I enjoy Shazam. I I've
And then
always liked Zachary Levi ever since Chuck. I really enjoyed the show Chuck.
he was good.
Um,
He was really
yeah,
good.
I think he did a good job of portraying what it'd be like if
A
a kid
14-year-old.
became an
Yeah.
adult with powers. I think he did a
Hmm.
good job with that.
Yep.
I think the what is this the Shazam family? I think those
Hmm.
characters are fun. Um,
Yep.
I think I enjoyed the movie overall. Like it's not
Shazam was a
like
good
the
movie.
best
Yeah.
movie ever, but I think it was fun.
I think Shazam was one of those movies you were like, hey, they made a good one.
Yeah,
And it caught you off guard. It was like really, it was really one of those movies where I was like, oh, you guys do know what you're doing. And you
because
were
as
like,
I'm looking at this list, if you think about all this stuff, we haven't really had. I guess you could say Justice League is kind of a sequel to Batman: Dawn of Justice, but really, all these movies, there's only one sequel that's come out so far. Wonder Woman '84.
mm-hmm,
You have other ones that are kind of like soft reboots, like the Suicide Squad is like a soft reboot of Suicide Squad. But in
mm-hmm.
terms of what's out right now, you only have one sequel. So I mean, it's interesting to see they try to do all these different, put their little tendrils in so many different webs and spinning plates, and none of them really stuck. So like, let's try this movie. Let's try this movie. Let's try this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed the Shazam movie. I thought it was interesting. I thought the fact that they actually made that movie was interesting
Hmm.
because as a marquee character, Shazam is not one of them.
Sure.
I understand some people might not have liked the movie. Have Kyler Jones is like it was just crap, and I understand that everything isn't for everyone. Hey, buddy.
Did you ever play the Injustice games or see the
Yeah.
storylines from that?
Mhm.
And like when Shazam gets his head blown in.
I mean, I didn't keep up with everything. I read the
Uh,
comics that were based on the games, and
mhm.
I did play. Like, I watched a lot of the vignettes, and I played it, and I
Yeah,
was like, okay, this is cool. But it wasn't my. I always felt like
yeah.
Injustice was.
Shazam gets destroyed. It's like, oh Jesus.
I just basically felt like Injustice was like Mortal Kombat for people who like the DCU and like Mortal Kombat.
Sure.
I was more of a Marvel versus Capcom type person.
Hmm.
So, um,
Yeah,
hey,
it's interesting. I like, and maybe that's the problem overall with the DCEU for all these movies. Like, we keep talking about Shazam was fun, but I don't know of anything that's a standout for me in Shazam. Like, it was fun, and maybe because it was so different from everything else, and the fact that it was just a a passable movie, that's why it stands out more for me. I don't know.
um, I thought Mark Strong once again plays a great villain. I think he's one of the most underrated actors in Hollywood. Um,
Sure.
I liked him, and I like Zachary Levi, but again, I thought it's one of those movies where I was like, this is cute. Shazam to me is the DCU's Ant Man,
Okay.
and the problem with that being is Marvel figured out how to use Ant Man. DCU hasn't figured out how to use Shazam,
Hmm.
and we haven't seen Shazam 2 yet. We might, but um,
The man baby role gets people to laugh. That's why it was fun to y'all. No, to me, it wasn't him being a man baby. I think because when I think of man baby, I think of somebody. To me, the term man baby is somebody who's more spoiled and entitled. I don't really feel like Zachary Levi felt entitled. I just felt like he was a kid who just had powers. I don't necessarily think he tried to over abuse the powers. He just wanted to try different stuff out. So I don't know if I would call him a man baby personally.
Shazam reminded me of Kick Ass,
Hmm.
like a PG Kick Ass.
Okay.
So if you remember the relationship that Aaron Taylor Johnson had when he became Kick Ass, and that whole idea of like him not understanding the world around him, even
Hmm.
though this is what he wanted, and then he got what he wanted. He was like, "Oh, this is not what I wanted." That's what I think of Shazam. You got superpowers. You thought they were cool. You didn't know what superpowers really are about,
Hmm.
and now you have to like step the fuck up. That's
Sure.
how I looked at Shazam. And to me, it was like DCU's version of Kick Ass.
Okay.
So I What
A
do you
lot of people
do?
are talking when they think of man-child instead of man-child. Or Zayla Maru and Aaliyah Veal are saying Thor,
Yeah, pretty much.
like that first
Yeah,
Thor. Yeah,
that's why he got. That's why he got his ass sent to Earth.
he wasn't worthy. Um, all right, so that was Shazam. Next up, Birds of Prey. This is
Uh,
probably my number one movie of the DCEU.
I
I
like
really
Birds of Prey.
enjoyed this a lot,
I did too.
and I wish more people had seen it in theater so it could have got a sequel. Um,
I
I
own
think
it.
the story was fun. I think everybody's doing an amazing job. Again, I don't really care for Cassandra Cain. I don't, maybe if they had done a better job of her comic book origins, she might have stood out more to me. But I really enjoyed all the adults in the movie. Um, Huntress was
Elizabeth
very,
Winstead. Elizabeth
yeah, she
Mary
was
Winstead.
great, and she had a great turn in the movie that was different from how I thought she was going to be from the trailer.
Hmm.
The
But
the action
different take on
choreography, yeah,
different
the
take
action
on.
choreography of the movie was great too.
You know,
When Harley Quinn jumps on that leg and breaks it, I was like, oh, geez, this is a
you
different
know
movie.
why? Because they hired the people from John Wick. Like a lot of people who talk trash about that movie, I'm like, did you like the action? They were like, no, the action was terrible. I was like, okay, now you're just being a hater
Hmm.
because you can't like John Wick and the movies that and everything about John Wick or nobody, and then think the action scenes and Birds of Prey were terrible because they're made by the same people. So that's when I'm like, that's when I know somebody is like not being objective and just trolling
Hmm.
because the action scenes in Birds of Prey were amazing.
Yeah.
Like that whole fight with Harley Quinn in the jail was amazing.
Hmm.
Like, and then the end fight, not the car chase, but the end fight at
At the Funhouse or whatever.
mhm. Like
Yeah,
that was just
that's fun.
that was fun.
Yeah.
I will. That's this, I as much as I like Shazam, I think Birds of Prey was better and more fun just because I got to see characters that I had never thought I'd see on live screen, and they were very interesting. Old boy who plays Zazaz, the serial killer, I
Yeah, he
thought
was he
that
he
was a different
was
take,
yeah.
especially consider who played him.
Hmm. And
Um,
Ewan McGregor as Black Mask, I liked him.
yeah,
He was
Sedonis.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Uh
I did not like Cassandra Cain either. Only, but that's different because Cassandra Cain in the comics is a different. I would have liked if they just didn't even say she was Cassandra Cain.
okay.
Just make up a new character, leave Cassandra Cain for another day. Like
Hmm.
you didn't have to like try to muse every DC character. Um, but I did enjoy it. I liked the movie. I've seen it multiple times. Um, Journey Smollett was great.
Hmm.
It's sad that we won't get to see those characters again down the
Yeah.
line. Um, you probably you probably get to see Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn because a James Gunn got to do Suicide Squad and he's in charge, so he's probably going to use his characters again. But I
Sure.
did enjoy that movie.
Ryan
I lo-
Porter was asking, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
DC has characters, but in terms of stories, what are you looking forward to?
Um, we'll get to that when the roundup. Remind me. I have ideas.
Okay. So that was Birds of Prey. Next up, our first
In my
real.
top five, Bird Prey in top five. So right now we have Man of Steel,
Uh huh.
Wonder Woman,
Uh huh.
Birds of Prey. Top
Okay.
five.
I feel like you running out of room here, but
I got
okay.
three movies.
Yeah, you got two more. I don't know if two of these are going to make your top five.
Nope.
Wonder Woman 1984.
Nope.
Yeah,
Don't own
man.
it.
Talk about being disappointed. Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman was so fun. Granted, we didn't like the last part, but overall, the movie's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman 1984. Um,
Pedro Pascal was good.
he was fun.
As Max
Uh,
Lord, he was good. I understand where they were trying to go. They just didn't do a good job of getting there.
oh, tell me where were they trying to go? I don't know.
So they were trying to make Max Lord out to be somebody who gave people what they wanted and gave into your worst impulses.
Hmm.
And it was a rip if you think about it. It was a given the way the country was going at that time, and the way the political movement was going, it was one of those things where they were like, this is what happens when you get everything you really want.
Hmm.
And when you don't think the person next to you, when you don't live in a community and everybody gets what they want, that's not good for society. And that's what they were trying to go. It didn't work out that way because they didn't do a good job. I think Kristen Wiig was great as a nerdy woman, but that's what she plays. She didn't do anything that was outside of the norm of what she has done on SNL or any of the other movies that she's done, Bridesmaids, um, Ghostbusters. So it wasn't hard for her to do the same thing. The problem was, a bringing Trevor back was a waste.
Hmm.
Making it in the 80s was not a good was not a good idea.
I don't feel like they
Uh,
really used the 80s.
what I'm saying is putting it in the 80s and then trying to make a sequel for Wonder Woman, because remember in Batman versus Superman and Wonder Woman, or not Batman versus Superman and Justice League, she made a point to say she took a time out from the world of men. It
Hmm.
1984 did prove to me this is why she stayed out of the affairs of men for so long.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Like you have the idea to retcon Wonder Woman and you didn't do a good job of it. So that's the problem that I felt. But I will say this: I bought that Wonder Woman action figure where she had the gold armor. I thought that
Hmm.
armor was amazing.
Yeah, I mean that movie also gave us Linda Carter back, so that was cool.
Yeah, like
Oh no, okay.
like you wasted like how do you waste Linda Carter? Like come on, man, you could have done more.
I mean, you can do a lot, but they
That's
didn't.
what I'm saying. Like you, I felt like they wasted Linda Carter's abilities in that movie. But that's because I'm a fan. So
Sure.
I wanted to see more of Linda Carter than that.
Okay. Next up, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Only thing I got to say is it was better than Justice League.
How do I turn
That's
off?
it for me.
I don't want to say something that will come back and tear the channel down, but
Oh geez. Okay.
I applaud Zack Snyder for getting to do his version of what he thought Justice League was.
Uh huh.
I I appreciate what he tried to do by giving Ray Fisher more time, more ability to show his strengths.
Hmm.
I think Ezra Miller shined.
Hmm.
They did a good job, but I will never watch that film again. I am
Yeah.
not a fan of that film. I think it was 4 hours of something I didn't need. However, this is what I will say. Chris 24, more power to you. I disagree on the opposite side of that spectrum as far as you can go. I think Justice League and the fact that they gave Zack Snyder the fact that they did the Snyder cut, as much as I like the fact that they did it, Warner Brothers set themselves up for failure by greenlighting that movie because you gave a voice to a loud minority who will never go away now.
Hmm.
And you've proven to some people that no matter what you do, you can get what you want. And that is a bad precedent.
Sure.
And I think out of all the comic book movies that have been given a budget, that have been greenlit, that has the most potential, the best actors, Zack Snyder's Justice League is one of the worst
All right.
because you cannot tell me Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, at 4 hours, 4 hours now.
Hmm.
How many 30 minutes? How many 30-minute increments is that?
So 8.
8?
Mhm.
Which one is better? Zack Snyder's Justice League? Think about this for a second. Take Zack Snyder's version, his Justice League, Batman versus Superman, and his Man of Steel. How many 30-minute increments is that?
I don't know.
Is it as long as a season of Justice League animated adventures?
Yeah, probably, maybe. Yeah.
Which one's better?
Sure.
That's all I have to say about Justice League.
Okay. Um, the Suicide Squad.
Loved it.
Yeah, yeah.
Kyler Jones, hey man, I, you don't have to agree with everything we say. I understand. Chris 24 says it's a masterpiece, best comic movie of all time. I think Into the Spider Verse is the best comic book movie of all time because it looks like a comic book movie.
Sure.
I put Into the Spider Verse against Endgame and Infinity War any day of the week, and I would go against um, the Russo brothers in defense of that movie all day and twice on Sunday. But that's just me. Some people think Justice League is the greatest movie of all time. Chris 24 is one of them. Hey, more power to you, bro. I don't.
Suicide Squad.
Loved
I'm
it.
getting off topic. Yeah.
Loved it.
I think that movie was like, oh yeah, that's right. We can have fun stuff. We can have dark stuff. We can have humor. We can mix all those tones and it still come out to be a good movie.
Rem-
Suicide Squad, David Ayer's one. Granted, it isn't his version that cut, but the one that we saw tried to mix humor and darkness and all that kind of stuff, but it just didn't work. But James Gunn said, "Hey, hold my beer. I can do this. To show you how it needs to be done."
I'm trying to hold it.
Um, you're right. Rick Flag in the first Suicide Squad was nothing to me. I didn't care.
Hmm.
I've kind of like Henry Cavill. I've grown a lot on Joel Kinnaman in terms of stuff that he's done. I like a lot more of his stuff now.
Have you
I'm really
seen?
loving him in For All Mankind. Man, he's
Did you
really good in that.
did you see him in the Missing show that he did with uh
I
he
know what you're talking about. I didn't see it. I know what
he
you're
was
talking
great
about
in
though.
that
Yeah.
as a junkie cop,
Hmm.
a reformed junkie cop. He was great. See, that's how I got introduced to him, and I've always liked Joel Kinnaman because he was great in that.
Hmm.
Um, but go ahead, Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
Finish.
the Suicide Squad. It was just so I really didn't like Rick Flag in that 2 hour movie, whatever.
Can you guys see
James
Owen?
Gunn. Yeah,
Just making sure. Hey, you can't have that. If I give you that, they'll take you away from me.
yeah. Now we really will lose the channel. The Suicide Squad. Rick Flag in those 2 hours
Thank you for the killing. Thank you.
um, made me care about Rick Flag. I was sad when Rick Flag died.
Spoiler.
I mean, at this point, who
if
cares?
you didn't, if you didn't know,
You know what you hey, we've been talking this thing about an hour and 10 minutes now on DCEU. Yeah, we spoiling stuff. But yeah, when he died, I was like, oh, I was shocked that I cared. James Gunn did a good job. Um,
it's in my top five. It's number
there
four.
we yeah.
I don't own it only
The
because
Suicide Squad actually killed more people of the Suicide Squad.
that's why they're called the Suicide Squad.
Right. Yeah. What we got? We got Hang
Slipknot,
Not, Slipknot,
Slipknot.
whatever. Okay, great. Um, but it was just a fun movie, and I'm like, ooh. It also gave us a
Remember,
spinoff of Peacemaker, which was a great
remember
show.
when everybody did who's going to make it, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is going to make it," or "This person's going to make it." Do y'all remember the fact? Do y'all remember who was actually in this movie? Like Nathan Fillion was in this movie, man.
He was.
Like, do y'all remember Michael Rooker was in this movie?
Hmm.
Like, it's just Pete Davidson was in this movie. Like, you remember when we all were like, "Oh, he's gonna make it, or she's gonna make it, or he's gonna make it." That was what was fun
I
about
mean,
this
he
movie.
killed a whole squad,
He killed an entire squad of people.
minus
Like,
Harley Quinn, and then for another squad to come in and save him. Yeah.
it was like I love that movie. Now don't get me wrong, I will always have a soft spot in my heart for this,
Hmm.
but bringing in Idris Elba, where everybody thought he was going to be Tiger, Bronze Tiger, as they thought he was going to be this, and it was like, wait, what? Like
Hmm.
James Gunn has a knack for just bringing. Like I have that issue where Bloodsport shoots Superman with the kryptonite bullet, and like I enjoyed everything about this movie. Once again, John Cena and Dave Bautista have proven what acting really is in being different people every time you see them on screen. Um, we'll get to that individual who I'm shading in a minute. Um, it just like that whole scene where they tried to rescue Harley Quinn and she's outside.
Oh, you guys came for me?
And
You want me
like
to go
that,
back inside?
it's like,
Yeah.
and Rick Flag was like, no, like it was just a fun movie. and
Mhm.
I love that movie. I enjoyed it. It's in my top 4 for the MCU. Um,
For the DCEU.
DCU. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Thank you for. Hey, buddy, you okay? You okay down there? He is plotting on this beer. Let me move this over here. Also,
His
does Daddy
eyes
have?
moved
Do you see
when
that?
you moved it. Oh no. Okay.
Does Daddy have a drinking problem? Is that what you're trying to tell me? um, so I really liked. I thought the idea of like y'all don't understand when we did this when we reviewed this trailer on our other channel when they put Starro up there. I was like, yo,
Yeah.
they did Starro. Like that's what comic book movies should be about.
Hmm.
Like I love the MCU, but they ain't never done no Starro shit.
I
Like
mean, they had Shumagorath.
nah, man, they didn't have no. They did not have
Okay.
Starro. Like son,
Well,
Starro
what
and
would be the equivalent of MCU for a Starro for you?
like just the wild and wackiness of it.
Oh,
You
okay.
see,
Got it.
like, like that was what it was like. It was just fun,
Hmm.
and that's what it was missing. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the MCU isn't fun, but it was just that idea that they put Starro in a movie. Um, whoa, are you talking about They Live? I don't know, man. I
Hey,
don't know.
Roddy Piper was great in
He
his
was a
stints on
They
Always
Live.
Sunny in Philadelphia.
He was great in that. He
Yeah.
was. But I don't know. Um, Jesse Ventura has a bone to pick with y'all. Because Jesse Ventura, man, hey man,
You
say
talking
what
about
you.
Predator?
I'm just saying, Jesse Ventura in some movies
Okay.
killed it, and
Okay.
that like you know what? That's a topic. Who is the best actor, wrestler turned actor? That's a great conversation we'll have later. But I enjoyed the Suicide Squad. I really did, and you're right. It gave us Peacemaker. They were able to build on that character. To me, that's the mark of a good movie. That was a
Hmm.
film. It had a beginning, middle, of an end. I love the fact that you got to see Amanda Waller, like the cogs fought back.
Hmm.
That was cool, and that's how you backdoor pilot a show. Everybody who's listening, eh, movies, studios, that's how you
All the studio executives watching our show.
Walter Hamada,
Yeah.
James Gunn. That's how you backdoor pilot a show. And it didn't even feel like they were doing it.
Hmm.
That's how you do it. So okay, let's move on.
This is the final. I mean, we say the best for last, just like DCEU did. Black Adam.
The floor is yours, Michael.
I mean, here's the thing. That movie's dumb. I'm like, it's whatever. I didn't hate it, but there's a I don't really get a lot of hate for a lot of stuff or love
I
for a
do.
lot of stuff. I'm more like, I could do without it. Like to hate it, that means you're occupying space in my mental brain space, and I don't have time for that. I don't got to think about Black Adam. I don't care about you. Like the movie's garbage. I got so many questions. Like this doesn't make sense. Also, if we're talking about DCU overall, I felt that they tried to make Amanda Waller their Nick Fury, and it didn't work. In terms of her being like, "Oh, I'm going to use these people to do whatever," it was so weird that she didn't have the Suicide Squad fight Black Adam because since that's who she controls. Why do we have the Justice Society fighting Black Adam? I don't know. Whatever. So weird. Um, the best thing about that movie was,
It was over.
well, no, it was Sarah Shahi because I love Sarah Shahi.
She was good in that. Um,
That's the only thing I was like, oh, I love you. So yeah, you can do whatever. But yeah, the movie was like, it was dumb. They gave us a moment where The Rock, Black Adam, Tet Adam, whatever, had a weakness to what was it?
Eternium.
Eternium. Like, oh, is that going to come back up? Never comes back up again.
Nope.
Nobody else uses it again.
Nope.
Okay, great.
I love the fact that nobody noticed that it hurt him and was like, "Hey, man, keep doing it."
Yeah, yeah. Although to be fair, he might have killed all those people who shot him.
Hey, man. All I'm saying is, if you see something that's about to bring down somebody as strong as Superman, tell everybody else.
You're right. You're right. And it does seem like Amanda Waller, who has knows all these secrets, She could have told the Justice Society, "Hey, yo, go get some attorney. I'm gonna drop him real quick."
Because
But
you don't think that she don't have drones and satellites watching that whole thing as soon as he popped up?
yeah,
Yeah. So, you done?
yeah. Go ahead.
You ready, buddy? You ready to do this?
Shield his ears, protect this child.
Nah, man, he needs to hear this. So,
He don't need to hear this about no stupid
nah.
movie.
So you like Hamilton, right?
I do like Hamilton.
Do you remember the first cabinet battle
Yeah.
between Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton?
Uh huh.
You must be out of your goddamn mind.
You been saving that one?
It just came to me.
Okay.
As I was looking at Owen, all I could hear was, "Dear Theodosia, what you say to me?" And I was thinking like the kids, and I
Yeah.
just Hamilton popped up. Um, yeah, Black Adam,
Some people are calling it Mid Adam in the chat. That's good.
Mid-
Yeah, Mid Adam.
Mid Adam, light skin Adam, light-ish Adam,
Oh.
whatever you want to call him.
Mhm.
I'm trying not to be hype. Again, I'm trying not to exaggerate. I'm trying not to. And y'all remember what I said about Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. And if you've been listening to this, you understand that I'm not a fan of that Justice League. However,
Mhm.
I respect the artisan craft that it took to make Zack Snyder's Justice League happen. I respect that that man had a vision and a plan, and he tried to deconstruct heroes that we have all known to grow and love.
Mhm.
I respect that he came back after he was summarily dismissed from a project during one of the worst times in his life.
Mhm.
And he even acknowledged the fans to help him come back and worked with some people he probably didn't like. And I say all that to say that I would watch Justice League, the Snyder Cut, every day before I ever watched the fucking Black Adam film ever again. When I tell you I don't like Black Adam, and it's
Mhm.
not the comic book part of it, because I think the comics, it's hard to do a nuanced character like that. The problem that I have with Black Adam is something that we have stressed on this show. Don't waste my time.
Sure.
Black Adam wasted my time.
Sure.
It wasted my time by giving us a movie that was 10 years in the making. And you saw everything that came out before you. And your movie wasn't better than Venom.
Mhm.
Your movie wasn't better than Venom 2. Your movie wasn't better than
I think it
Morbius.
might have been better than Venom too.
Sir, your main hero was a black man in a bird suit who thought he could go toe to toe with a god.
I mean, he had Dr. Fate on his side.
Dr. Fate had a better shot at beating Black Adam. A nigga in a bird costume? Get the fuck out of here.
I think the issue, Aaliyah Veal's right. The Rock was hyping the hell out of this movie.
He
I
was.
think
I didn't buy it.
say what you will about The Rock. He's an incredible hype man for his stuff, right? The
Yes.
Rock will hype anything and everything that he does. I think that is to his detriment and his benefit. In this case, it was his detriment. Um, I think what I would love to know the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, we've seen all these stories come out now.
We're
In terms of
finding
like,
out a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
it's I wonder, and I'm not here to drop shade or throw tea at anybody, right? Or whatever it is. I'm not here for that. What I am saying though is it's interesting to see Black Adam.
Yo,
Oh,
highlight that comment. Highlight that shit.
That's rough right
How,
there.
how Kevin go come into the chat was the hottest. That's the hot 1999 shit.
Yeah. So we know The Rock loves his $7 productions.
Continue,
and
man.
I'm trying to the comment threw me because it
It
was so
did.
deep. It got me. But no,
Alvin, I didn't even know they made an Alvin and the Chicks was 4.
it's weird because as much as we talk about people needing editors, it seems like
Mhm.
nobody was able to check The Rock.
Nope.
even the people who own the property, which is crazy. I mean, in a way, it's almost kind of like, damn, Rock, that's respect. You took this property and said, nah, it's mine. I know y'all own it, but I'm gonna do whatever I want with
So
it.
the
Y'all
Hollywood
don't want y'all don't
Reporter,
want Superman in it. I'm gonna have Superman in it. You don't want me to talk. You want Shazam to be part of this? Nah, Shazam
nope,
don't matter, even though we say
nope,
the same word.
nope.
It's crazy.
That's that's why I hate Black Adam. For all those things that you just said, that they let The
Yeah.
Rock, that they let not a producer who had a long-term plan for the goal of the DCU, they let someone else come in. They let a The Rock is Goldilocks.
Tyler Perry presents Black Adam 2.
Put that up there. Put that's on the board.
Y'all are coming hard. I love it.
That's on the board. That's what bothered me so much. That once we found out everything that came out about the movie, because remember, I kept telling you, I'm gonna try to go to this day. I'm gonna try to go to this day. I was trying to see this movie in the theaters. I was trying to give these people my money,
Hmm.
and wasn't able to do it. So finally, it came the HBO Max. I watched it, and the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, the fuck is this? Sorry, buddy. Um, don't repeat that.
You've been
Um,
cursing for a while now that you showed his ears.
I mean, I do it a lot. Um,
Okay.
it just bothered me that they wasted my time, that they took characters that I loved. I love Hawkman. I love Carter Hall. Um, I love Amanda Waller. I love Black Adam. I don't like the fact that they wasted the opportunity to give us Black Adam. And they should have forced The Rock to be the villain in Shazam 2. And then after Shazam 2, launch Black Adam.
Hmm.
You wasted so much opportunity. And I like The Rock. I love The Rock in the Fast and Furious movies. As a matter of fact, I didn't start liking the Fast and Furious movies until The Rock showed up. Like I appreciate The Rock in Jumanji. I
Hmm.
love The Rock. Now, don't get me wrong. The Rock owes him and Jason Statham owe me some money for Hobbs and Shaw. They owe me some money for that. Rock, when we meet, I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna need you to run me $10, bro.
Yeah.
Or I get a bottle of that tequila you made. Either way,
Is it tequila even good? Do we know?
it's tequila, man.
Uh,
And it's
Okay.
The Rock's tequila. It's gotta be good.
Yeah,
I
just like
just
The Rock's Black Adam.
whoa.
That's what I'm saying.
I,
I mean, we don't know.
it's tequila and it's The Rock's. Now,
Okay.
this thing, that's
Hmm.
something totally different. But I think The
Okay.
Rock made some good tequila. That's just me.
Okay.
However, the problem that I have with this movie is it took 10 years to make, at least.
Hmm.
And this is let's break down the problems that with Black Adam had. Let's start from the beginning. One, stop trying to hide that The Rock is his dad. That was like having fucking Morgan Freeman doing a voiceover.
And here's the part that's so weird. When you talk about that, it would be one thing if the campaign had that, but the campaign didn't
Gave it
hide it.
away. That's
Right.
what
Or the trailer didn't hide it. So why are you trying to hide it in the movie? It was so weird.
problem number one. So stop trying to hide that. Like, I'm going to see this movie because The Rock's in it. So why are you hiding him? That's
Hmm.
number one. Don't hide The Rock. One, he's too fucking big. Sorry,
He
buddy.
is.
Um, it's The Rock. He's fucking huge. Like if The
Yeah.
Rock walked in here right now, he would take up this much of the screen. Like put me and Owen together, we still don't match a bicep.
Hmm.
He's huge. So you wasted The Rock. That's bad storytelling. Two, you tried to make it seem like, oh, The Rock is this anti-hero. This tell a good story.
He was never an anti-hero.
He was never an anti-hero. Okay, so we started with this country, Kandak. Kandak. Okay? So we've already established we already know this is The Rock. Two. Two. How the fuck do you have Jafar ride in the car with the good guys and not realize that's Jafar?
Hmm.
Whenever you see certain people on screen, you're like, that's the villain. We just talked about this with Danny Houston and David Thewlis. I think that was his name.
Yeah.
You don't even care about this. You like them pants? Okay, cool. Um, Jafar is riding in a car with the good guys, and I'm like, that isn't that Jafar? Like, certain people get typecasted as bad people, And I understand that they may not be bad people in real life, but he's a bad guy on screen.
Yeah.
That's fucking Jafar. Bad casting. Like come on, make me work for it.
Hmm.
So you've got that. You see your mommy? He might go to sleep now. um, you have Jafar, so that's terrible because you already know who the villain is. You have this woman recite some lines, he shows up, but before you even get to that, did you notice the whole Shazamming they did with the young kid and the skateboard,
Hmm.
but then had no reference to Shazam, even though your main character got his powers from the same Negro wizard from
Yeah.
back in the day?
Yeah.
How? That's just bad screenwriting. And I'm going to tell you how that happened. Because a man the size of a mobile home said, "We're not going to do that." And
Right.
you listened.
Yeah.
So you have that going for it. Then on top of that, what's up with this flying through doors thing? They had doors back then. That joke is old. Like he could have done it once because he was like, not knowing where he was. So he comes out of the tomb. That whole Zack Snyder slow motion, whatever you want to call it. Like, don't get me wrong. You can tell whoever directed this movie was a disciple of Zack Snyder. And that was great. It was amazing. However, if you're the Justice Society and you saw him do all of that, and you brought a Negro with a mace and a bird costume,
Hmm.
you brought a girl who plays with wind, and a guy who gets tall, and a man in love with a gold helmet, and
Hmm.
you thought you was gonna take him out?
I mean, you work with what you got.
All I'm saying is, if I had got that call from Amanda Waller and I saw that footage, nah, bruh, run me my Henry Cavill, because I'm
Well,
not
I
going
mean, we did have Henry Cavill at the end.
at the end. Henry Cavill, because here's the thing: what did you think you was gonna do?
Hmm.
What did you think you was gonna do against Black Adam? Like that, like think about that for a second. This is a man who's been gifted the powers of God.
Hmm.
And so you know what Shazam can do, and that's a boy. Amanda Waller has to know that Shazam is a child because she has eyes everywhere.
Right.
So you know that you know who he is because you have intel on him, and you showed up in a country like you could tell those lines were written, and they were like, "We'll fill them in later. We're come to." Why were you? Why was the Justice Society not fighting Intergang all along? Like,
Hmm.
you really thought you was gonna show up and be the good guys? Like, you could tell they tried to weave in some political dialogue and stuff like that, and it just fell flat.
Well, it's probably definitely a thing where they wrote a version of the movie that's like, oh, this is going to be great. And then they filmed it like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. So let's try
It
and
did,
add other stuff to it.
didn't matter.
And it didn't help. Yeah.
And so it's just like it's like comedic error after comedic error that it just didn't make sense. And then two, how you go talk about we don't kill and you work for Amanda Waller? Like, you don't kill? Every person in this whole franchise kills. Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman. Everybody, everybody kills.
Oh, you and
Like,
Kevin Holding said that at the same time.
I'm just like that was just the dumbest thing ever. We saw Superman kill somebody in Times Square, or
Right.
no, it was Penn Station, wherever it was. Batman literally took an M60 and mowed down 12 people.
Well, here's the reason. Here is I think the behind the scenes reasons why they did that. Because in my mind, they needed to be like, oh, we need to make him seem like an anti-hero. So we're going to say villains or heroes don't kill. That way, when he does kill, he seems different. But the issue with that is for the most part, he kind of killed really only the bad guys. It's never like he killed any good guys.
I agree.
So I mean, well, I don't really know that you're an anti-hero because you're kind of doing what
He
the heroes are doing. You're
here's a
killing bad
and here
people.
here's my problem, and that's my problem with that whole thing. Because what movie franchise are you in, bruh?
Hmm.
Superman was killing people like Superman was killing people. Batman was just lighting them up like he's in John Wick.
Hmm.
Like I don't understand what movie he was in, and let's not even talk about the Suicide Squad. They literally had a joke where Idris Elba and John Cena were literally going point for point, killing people like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan in those McDonald's commercials.
Wow. Sure.
Do you remember that when he was like, "I can
Yeah.
make it from here"? And then remember Charles Barkley came at the end. Can I play, guys? They were like, "No."
Yeah.
That was Idris Elba and John Cena. So
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Take your ass home. What movie are you in? I love Mo Abner because I think he's funny. I thought he was funny in this. The
Hmm.
Shazam kid in this. How you have pictures of Batman, Superman, Flash, and you idolize these superheroes,
Hmm.
and your country shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not idolizing nobody who ain't trying to help me. You don't think
Sure.
you don't think the Flash could have wrapped this shit up in a half hour?
Yeah.
So why are you idolizing them? And this whole catchphrase thing, that was stupid. I just the whole movie for it to have been taken over 10 years to be made, and this is what we got. I'm not saying I could have done better. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying The Rock is garbage. I'm saying he's trash or anything like that. I'm saying that that movie was bad. And that
Sure.
movie, considering all the talent that they had, you had freaking Pierce Brosnan in that movie, man. That's Silver Fox. And that's the best you could have done. Literally, you watched Doctor Strange and then you casted Pierce Brosnan and said, "Hey, man, I need you to do Doctor Strange, but be blue and gold."
Yeah. All right. So we've been talking for a long time, longer than we normally go, and I'm not going to say we're going to stop right now. But we talked about the movies. So you had four in your movies instead of no, didn't have a top five. You had four. That's not the DCEU.
It is. Because
No,
here's the
it's not.
thing. Let me tell you what they did. They did exactly what I told you they were going to do. All their movies are encompassed under the DCU. They just called it the worlds of the DCU. Their DCU is not, this isn't connected to the DCU, but it's all under the umbrella. That's what the thing that I said that they should have done. This is an Elseworlds tale, just like the Joker is an Elseworlds tale. And to answer Kyler Jones, no, Reeves Batman is staying separate. They're not rebooting Batman. Batman stays separate. But James Gunn has admitted and acknowledged that you may see crossover from all of these properties in the future. The TV shows, the video games, the comic books, the movies, all of that will have some synergy. Now, will we see this in the DC in the future? I don't know. But this still follows under the DC worlds of DC umbrella. Because remember, we had this conversation where I was like, just call it the worlds of DC and just do whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
And they did that for a while. It just didn't work.
Sure.
So
All right. So we've been going for a while. What's the future for DCEU?
release the movies you have, which it looks like they're going to do. Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Flash, Flashpoint. Use Flashpoint because you know we're rebooting, they're reshooting some scenes, they're cutting some stuff out because I think what they're cutting out is something that James Gunn and the brain. This is what I'm hoping. They're holding out using some of this stuff for future.
Sure.
So hold back Michael Keaton. In other words, this is done. Don't waste Michael Keaton in a shitty Flash movie that you're about to release because you're not going forward with this. So
Hmm.
let's do something with him later. Release these movies, get it off the docket, do whatever you need to do, reboot the whole thing. And I love the fact that they got James Gunn or someone who has an appreciation of the comics. Go to James Gunn's Twitter page or Instagram page. James Gunn has been tweeting out Lobo. Personally, I think Khal Drago makes a better Lobo than he does Aquaman. He's tweeted out pictures of reading All Star Superman, one of the best Superman stories ever. Start small. We know James Gunn can do this because we've seen him give you a talking goddamn tree and you know who it is. Given you a talking raccoon and made you care. So this idea of James Gunn is ruining the DCU. Oh, he's ruining it? Oh, so you thought it was doing well? You thought the DCU was doing a good job. That's what you thought? Um, so I think the future is bright only because it's been a shit show from the beginning. I had
I
this.
wanted to bring in this one comment real
Mhm,
quick. So James Gunn, one thing that I do like about James Gunn, he seems to be very transparent in terms of as much as he can talk about what the plans are and
mhm.
answer people on Twitter. So one person wrote to James Gunn, please do not encourage Guardians of the Galaxy cast to follow you to DCU. Find fresh actors that can craft brilliant characters and forge new memories for audiences instead of swimming in the same muddy pond. I know I'm not alone in feeling this way. Rebirth, not reuse, please. And then he responds, we have hundreds of roles to cast. As I've
Yep.
always done, some will be brand new faces, some will be actors I've worked with before, and some will be actors you know who I've never worked with. What matters most is the actor fits the role, and they're easy to work with.
Yep. He
I
said he
think
would.
that's I think that's
Go
awesome. To me, it's just like, oh, so yeah, you're probably going to see Guardians of the Galaxy people in his
ahead.
movies. I think that's going to be fine.
Oh,
Like you
you're
said,
definitely
find
gonna
the
see
actor
Dave.
that fits the role.
He's definitely go. You're definitely gonna see Dave Batista again.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I would love to see him as Bane, or as I would love this. I would love to see him as Bane to give Bane nuance than just being a musclehead. I think Dave Bautista is like a lot of people have said. He's one of the best wrestlers turned actors.
Hmm.
Um, I loved him in Glass Onion. I thought he was great in Army of the Dead. I loved him in that movie where New York gets attacked by, was it Russians, Koreans?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, there's a movie where he's like trying to get out of the city, and one of the white women from Pitch Perfect is like his sidekick, and they're trying to get
White
out. You
woman
got
from
it,
Pitch Perfect.
the blonde one, I think, and basically he was great in 2049. Um, anyway, I think you're going to see Dave Batista again because remember, Batista. If you want a friend, you need a friend like Dave Batista because Dave Batista was down for James Gunn. Remember when he got fired?
Oh yeah,
And Dave, who was Chris Pratt?
it was
Chris,
funny. Dave Batista was like, "Yo, if they get rid of him, I'm not coming back for the MCU," which is like kind of cute. It's like, bro, the MCU will be fine without you, but that's cute that you're
but
standing with him.
but the thing is, he held his ground. Chris Pratt didn't come hard like that. Zoe Saldana didn't come hard like that. And I think it's very funny. Zoe Saldana was like, "Oh yeah, the MC movies were holding me back." Well, bitch, you should have said something when they fired James Gunn because you ain't had no real roles until James Gunn stepped up. Because I can tell you right now, ain't nobody remembers she was in Avatar. Her best movie was Columbiana.
I think people remember she was an Avatar. I think so.
Chat. Do y'all remember that Zoe Saldana was in Avatar? Or did y'all see a blue woman with a long tail? Talk about Jake Sully.
I think you remember her just like you remember anybody else in Avatar.
Mm. I remember Sigourney Weaver. I remember Unobtainium. Thank you. Zayla Maru's like, guess who? Um, and I remember Jake Sully because that's when they were trying to make your boy a household name.
Drumline.
She was in Drumline.
Yes. See,
Thank you.
you just don't know Zoe, okay? But
Hold on.
yeah, people know Zoe.
I have seen Drumline. Me and Katie watched that last year. Um, and I
What
will
the hell,
never
up,
forget.
Leroy?
Hold on. I will never forget that she was Nina Simone. I have never forgiven her for that, even though she finally apologized because they
Yeah.
tried to tell her that's not a role for you.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. I have never been a real big fan of Zoe Saldana, and I think that she talks too slick for me because I have not forgot Nina Simone. But I will say, Columbiana is her best role.
I like that one. I thought she was good in The Losers.
Oh yeah, that was a good movie. They need to bring that back. That should be the TV show that HBO Max brings back. Uh, Death in a Funeral was terrible. It was the remake with Chris Rock.
Yeah,
Remember they brought
they should have
Tyrion in at
they
the
should have
end.
just let it be a British movie. Yeah,
They should have let that be a British movie.
yeah,
Wasn't Tracy Morgan in that too?
yes, I think so. Maybe
Yeah,
was he
I'm
in
not.
it? I know Martin Lawrence was in it.
Martin was in that.
Yeah, because
Wow,
it was him and Chris Rock were the brothers.
I do not remember that. I remember Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Kyla Jones. I'm sorry, she did not body an Avatar.
Oh,
I,
that's rough.
I will not allow that to stand. She was okay in Avatar. Sigourney Weaver and old boy who was the sergeant or whoever who put Jake Sully up
The
to
bad
go
guy,
the bad guy to go cut down them tree. He was
general
great.
bad guy. Yeah.
He was great. He was so good they brought him back from the dead. He was good. Don't breathe. He's great in Don't Breathe as the blind guy.
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
No,
Yeah.
I will say this: the DCU was a great experiment. We got some good, we got some bad.
Mostly
I
bad.
will damn. Um, I will say that there were some standout roles in the DCU. Henry Cavill as Superman, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, um, Zachary Levi as Shazam. I think I really Kyla Jones. I stand by what I said. I will not be bullied by the internet. Um, I think that there were some very good roles in the DCU. I think that it was a wasted opportunity. And I think, because here's the thing, say what you will about the MCU, they are the greatest movie franchise in the last 20 years, but they do not have the most recognizable characters. That belongs to DC. There are no three characters more recognizable than Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman.
You think that's still true now?
I
Because
think
you always talk about how
I
like
think it's a hard sell now, but I do believe up until the MCU became the MCU, you
yeah,
had the three most recognizable characters on planet. I would put the holy trinity of the DCU against SpongeBob, against Star Wars, because that symbol,
against
that
Mickey
Batman,
Mouse.
that's a hard that I can't say Mickey Mouse
Okay,
because that the evil empire that is Mickey Mouse is
it's
ubiquitous.
everywhere.
It's
It's
everywhere.
everywhere.
I mean, it's
They got
everywhere.
Disneyland Tokyo.
They do. They have Disneyland Paris.
Yeah.
So, but those are the three most recognizable characters. What the MCU did is made a talking raccoon and tree on par with Superman, and
Sure.
that is the disrespect that cannot stand. It cannot. You cannot have the Guardians of the Galaxy on a higher tier than fucking Superman, and you just can't. And so what I'm saying is the DCU failed, but out of the ashes, maybe something can grow and we can learn from this and we can finally get because here's my thing. The MCU only gets better when it realizes it has competition.
Mhm.
Apple is only good because Samsung copies everything they do and does it better.
Sure.
You have to have that.
Um,
Microsoft is only good because Sony basically pushed their face in the dirt for years to where Microsoft was like, open the checkbook and show these people who we are
mhm.
to the point where they spent $100 billion buying up properties just to support their first parties
Mhm.
titles. And Sony's like, oh, we we actually got to fight these people now. That like
Mhm.
competition makes you better. And the MCU has had no competition outside of Star Wars.
Which is all owned by Disney, so Disney doesn't care.
Preach.
Right. All right, folks. We've been going for almost 2 hours. Long stream, but it was fun just to hear Leroy go on his rants. Don't know what we're gonna do next week because I'm actually on call next week and I got to go to a party next week. So maybe we do it earlier in the day, Leroy. I don't know. You let me know. We can figure that out if it's possible.
Depends on these kids, man.
Yeah. What got you through the past 2 weeks or so?
Cyberpunk, man. The past 2 weeks of Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk. Well, uh, I took Evan to the zoo. That was fun, and then Cyberpunk because I've been playing Cyberpunk, and then I watched the anime while I was playing it, and it was actually pretty good.
Please make a Discord. Kyler Jones, that is one of many things we're looking into.
Hey, man, I'm working on a
Um,
lot of stuff. I just, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna get my ass kicked by being a parent. Like the reason why we were late was because we were trying to put Evan down for bedtime, and he didn't take a nap today, so he was like all spun up. And then trying to get him down, you're like, can we give him something?
what do you mean, drugs?
I didn't say that, you did.
Okay. As you sip your alcohol. I love it. Did I hear about Marvel's Avengers? Oh, you know I heard about Marvel's Avengers.
September the 30th, man.
You know I heard. Well, here's the thing. You can still play it. There just won't be new content. But let's be
Nope.
honest, they ain't had new content for a while. So I mean,
But here's the cool thing: all the shit that y'all bought is free.
well, I never paid anything
All
besides
the
the game.
cosmetics and stuff, that stuff is going to be free now.
Yeah,
So
I think that's cool.
now we are going to play it because I have finally Kyler Jones Single Dagger 1. You get some kids melatonin gummies. Hey man, I'm gonna tell you right now. So the behind the scenes. So last week we didn't do it because I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I didn't have the energy. Like I texted Mike and I was like, "Hey man, we not gonna do this because I can't." Like I went to bed at 11. Katie went to bed early. I had Owen. I got him to bed at around 11 something, right after 11, and I went to bed and didn't get back up until 10 the next day. But second Marvel game to take a hit. What was the first one? Because I like Guardians. I love Guardians. I didn't play Marvel Midnight Suns, but I hear that's actually pretty good.
It's got
Um,
good reviews, but it didn't sell that well.
yeah, it's on sale on Steam if you can get it. I think it's on sale for like $20 off.
I would probably buy it for that. I do like Firaxis games, so yeah.
But
Strategy is my stuff.
I actually enjoyed Avengers. I mean, once you get past the voices and I actually
The
enjoyed it,
fact that it's not the MCU, yeah.
even though they base it on the MCU. Oh,
Right, exactly.
the VR game was shut down. Oh, I didn't know about that.
Hmm. I love the chat. What's everybody's Insta? Oh, y'all put your Instas in there. That's fine.
Yeah, put your stuff in there, people.
What was I gonna say? Oh, for me, what got me through was the show I told you about called We Are Lady Parts.
Yeah, I
It's on
found.
Peacock.
Hold on,
Mhm.
keep going because I
Oh,
actually pulled it up on IMDb to put it in the chat.
it's We Are Lady
Yeah.
Parts. It's on Peacock. It's a comedy about five Muslim women living in London who form their own indie punk rock band. It's like 5 or 6 episodes, 30 minutes apiece. I thought it was great. It was interesting because, and we've talked about this before. One thing that Miss Marvel does is show the Muslim community in a different light, from like not giving it the stereotypical
That they're
people that are
terrorists.
Muslim are terrorists, right? And this
Hmm.
was cool because it was just these ladies who wanted to, they are Muslim women, but that doesn't stop them from wanting to be punk rockers. I thought it was a cool show. They're making a second season. That's cool. And the main character, her name is Ajana Vasan.
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but
Probably not.
she is so awesome because anybody who watched Killing Eve,
Hmm.
that last season in Killing Eve, there's like another assassin that comes in,
Hmm.
and that's played by the same actress, and she is completely different in that than she's in this show. It's like, oh,
Okay.
it's cool to see when actors can do range and do all kinds of cool stuff. Like, dang, you are a completely different person, and it's very
Tell the
cool.
Rock.
Friend of the show, The Rock. Can't wait till we interview you, man.
You
You
owe me some
you and
money.
you and Holly Berry. I can't wait till we interview those two people. And they'll be like, remember all that stuff you said? Nah, I don't remember
Now that I think about it, I don't think I could take either one of those. So that's an ass whooping in my future.
it. There we go.
If I beat either one of
Uh,
them, that's an ass whooping. This is just get on camera though and
there we,
make that money.
let's get it on camera. For everybody who is new to us, this is the We Trying channel. Let me run through some stuff here real quick. This has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
We Trying, y'all, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. We Trying, YouTube, Facebook. We will work on Discord and some other stuff. Maybe I'll look at that
Yeah.
tonight. Probably not. We'll see. Who knows? But I mean, we will get to it eventually. But we do like the idea of keeping the conversation going. So we'll look into more stuff.
And we like chatting with y'all because y'all, I
Yeah.
mean, because we're not always right. I like the fact that some people think that the Snyder Cut Justice League is great. I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it, but and you guys really came through for Zoe Saldana. I haven't seen that in a while.
I gotta
Zoe,
say,
Zoe would
I didn't know she
appreciate
had
it.
that many fans. At least in terms of our group, like y'all came hard. Like people, when people say bad stuff about Beyonce, they come strong.
Hey man, they came harder for Zoe Saldana. They came for Holly Berry. David Cooper's the only
I
person who
was I
defended
was
Holly
thinking
Berry
that
in
too,
there.
but you know what? I don't know if David Cooper's in the chat. I haven't seen his name pop up, but he might
He's
still be in
not.
here.
Because as much stuff as I talked about Holly Berry, they never defended Holly Berry like they did Zoe Saldana.
Yeah,
They was bringing up deep cuts.
yeah, you're right. All right, folks, we can keep going, but we're gonna. Hey, brother, just gonna continue to help. Love you guys, Kyler Jones. Kyler Jones. We'll try to be in touch and figure some stuff out. But it's 2 hours. I'm
Yeah.
hungry. I ain't had dinner yet. I'm ready to eat some food. So we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Hey, peace. Be safe, y'all.
Yes.
We're out.